Okay, good morning again. Thank you for joining us for this month's Coffee Talk with Counselor Connect. We are really excited to welcome back Jose Medina from the Indiana Commission for Higher Education. And he is going to be talking about the very popular topic of career discovery meetings. And while this isn't brand new, it is still new enough where we still have lots of questions and, just a need for more information. So, Jose, we're glad we're here. I will be recording, so if you need to jump off early or need to access information again, go back and look at it later, you will be able to do that. So with that, I'm just going to hand it right over and to Jose, and you can get us rolling.
Awesome. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, everyone, for joining on this coffee talk. No, Counselor Connect Coffee Talk, CCCT, on career discovery meetings. I hope you're caffeinated and ready to learn a little bit more about career discovery meetings. I had a double shot espresso and woke up this morning just because I have a toddler, so I need that energy every morning. So I'm going to go ahead and just dive in. I told Amanda this, but go ahead and throw in any questions, any thoughts you have in the chat. I will be honest with you. I'm probably going to ignore the chat while I go through my presentation and demo, but I do want to let you know that once I'm done, I will answer your questions at the end. I'm happy to answer them, happy to be a resource, happy to answer those questions and concerns you may have. I know career discovery meetings have a lot of parts to them. I know a lot of people kind of want to seek a little bit more clarification on them, exactly how they work, how they have to be completed, all that stuff. I'm here to answer those questions and hopefully give you a little bit more information and resources to make the completion of those a little bit easier on your end. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. On my slide deck, I do have a slight demo at the end to kind of show you a little bit how students can complete the meeting, and then what you can do as a counselor, as a school user in ScholarTrack to make completion and tracking of those career discovery meetings a little bit easier for yourself and your providers. So starting out with a quick overview, I know people have questions about when career discovery meetings started, exactly, what do they entail on a high level basis. So career discovery meetings, also known as the 30-minute meetings, were implemented as a result of House Enrollment Act 1002. It's actually one of the three pillars as it goes with connecting students with careers. The other two pillars that the Commission for Higher Education also has a part in are the Career Scholarship Accounts, or the CSAs, and the Career Coaching Grant, which I know some of your schools are partnering with some of those intermediaries or education centers to provide career coaching services for your students. In House Enrollment Act 1002, it states that high school juniors or seniors in a school maintained by a school corporation or charter school are required to have career discovery meetings each year. So one meeting for junior year, one meeting for senior year. And like I said, school code, how the way it dictates it is that public or charter schools, students that attend those two types of schools have to complete these meetings. That means that schools that attend a private or parochial school do not have to complete the meetings. And at a very basic level, state code says that these meetings for 30 minutes must discuss current and future career opportunities and the education levels needed for various careers. So when you're speaking with a student in these meetings, really asking them, what careers they might be interested in, or talking about what those specific careers are that a provider provides or connects individuals with, and then the education that's required of them, whether it be some type of certification or training after high school, or a 2-year or a 4-year degree.
Yeah, those
after,
that you just did, you want to read them to me?
2-year or 4 degree after high school. So I talked about, what these meetings entail, what has to be discussed, who runs these meetings, who can conduct these meetings. Per state code, 4 entities specifically were named as being able to conduct these meetings, which are post-secondary institutions, so colleges or universities, intermediaries, which are defined as organizations that connect individuals with careers, employers are pretty self-explanatory, and labor organizations, also pretty self-explanatory, can conduct these career discovery meetings. The commission is tasked with approving the post-secondary institutions, the intermediaries, employers, and labor organizations. How do we approve these to conduct meetings? There is a process for doing that as well. And then lastly, So this was a result of House Enrollment Act 1002. So the last school year, when we launched the guidance and really the infrastructure to start reporting these meetings, it was launched in the last academic year. As a result, that was seen as a pilot year with full implementation designed for this school year. So you might see current seniors, the class of 2025, having a spot for 2 meetings. That first meeting for 11th grade is going to be waived. It wasn't completed just because it is a pilot year, having no effect on a student or a school for a current senior that didn't complete that meeting last year. Another brief overview exactly about how that kind of approval process works exactly. So in state code, post-secondary institutions were automatically approved to conduct career discovery meetings. All the institutions here in the state of Indiana that are eligible for state financial aid were uploaded into ScholarTrack to be able to be selected that a student met with, or for schools to partner with to conduct the career discovery meetings. The other entities, intermediaries, employers, and other organizations have to fill out a brief form to be approved to meet with these students. I'll show you this brief form, but it's essentially just a 7-question form asking what the organization's name is, the type of entity that they are, what schools that they would like to work with, and then having a contact. So to make that available for schools that want to coordinate with those entities to have them come in and conduct those career discovery meetings. On the school side, those approved entities must follow schools' guidelines for entering the building. When I was an outreach coordinator here at the Commission for Higher Education, I had to present my driver's license to kind of go through some quick search to make sure that I wasn't wanted for something. I was always let into the school. So I think state code is kind of designed in that way to make sure that, that you don't have some sketchy individual entering school grounds. The one thing I do want to say is for post-secondary institutions, we know a lot of schools work with out-of-state colleges or universities, which were not automatically added to the approved provider list. And that's because the number of out-of-state institutions is just ginormous, and it would slow down that list that students can select from. So for any out-of-state colleges that you work with closely and you work with repeatedly, they just have to fill out the brief form. They can select that they're an intermediary. I go ahead and code them as approved post-secondary institution. I've already had a good amount of out-of-state colleges, universities apply, and I go ahead and just approve them just like any other provider or entity. It's not a very hard process. I'm also happy to fill it out on their behalf if you provide me their contact information. It's fairly easy on my end as well. So I talked a little bit about, how an individual with the organization comes and conduct meetings. What does the meeting look like exactly, or what does the school have to do or is tasked with in order to complete these meetings or be able to conduct them successfully? So state code says that a meeting, a career discovery must occur on school property, in person, with no more than 5 students at one time during school hours, and take place for at least 30 minutes. That last part where it says take place for at least 30 minutes, we know schools kind of have maybe methods already in place or a routine that works better for them, where those first 25 minutes to discuss careers and the required education, and the last 5 minutes to log the meeting are really just a suggestion or recommendation more than anything. We've had some schools say that they already have a great process for having students go into the ScholarTrack system and complete the Scholar Success Program or complete other requirements in ScholarTrack. If a school says, hey, we'd rather just, have that completion in ScholarTrack ourselves, or we can handle it, we don't need or, don't want to task that with the employers or the intermediaries or the meeting conducting entities, that's totally fine. That if you have a routine that works better for you, we want you to go ahead and do that. Or you already have, protocol that is you find more efficient. Go for it. We don't want to tell you to redo this just specifically for logging these meetings. That being said, I do want to go back and say that we have received feedback that some of these meeting logistics requirements are very difficult to really strive towards completion of 100% of career discovery meetings for all students. Specifically the in-person and 5-student requirement, makes it harder, specifically as your school is larger, makes it harder because that's more time you have to devote or is devoted in order to having entities come in and conduct meetings with 5 students at a time. We understand that. We're hoping that the legislative session coming up in January, hopefully there will be some changes to career discovery meetings to hopefully make conducting these meetings a little bit easier and a little bit more successful. But we still encourage you to voice your feedback and your concerns to ourselves here at the commission, or even to your state legislator, specifically as connecting students with careers legislation comes up again. I know that here at the commission and definitely at the state house, they want career discovery meetings to be successful, and anything I think that will make them more successful at the school level and for students, legislators will definitely listen to. So yeah, no, feel free to voice that feedback. I do also want to point out 2 exceptions or amendments when it comes to meeting logistics that were either not mentioned in state code or were mentioned, but they kind of fly under the radar. To start off, if an intermediary is conducting the career discovery meeting, an intermediary can host a career discovery meeting at a time or place that's more convenient for a student. So what that means is an intermediary can host that meeting outside of school grounds and outside of school hours. So they can host a career discovery meeting at 7 p.m. on a Wednesday night at their location where that intermediary is located. As long as this, I'm guessing at 7 p.m. Not a lot of schools are still in their school day, so that is approved for intermediaries. We do have some intermediaries that are going ahead and proceeding with hosting those career discovery meetings. It makes it a little bit easier for students to attend, and it doesn't take away, and it makes it easier to coordinate with school specifically, so they're not taking school time and resources to do that. For post-secondary institutions, so colleges, universities, that limit of 5 students to attend a meeting doesn't exist. So if a college or university comes into a school to host a career discovery meeting, they're talking about their programs and what careers that they can lead to here and in the future. They can have more than 5 students in there. So they can have 20, 30 students, as long as they're still sharing those current and future careers and the required education of them. So I know those 2 exceptions or amendments make it a little bit easier to conduct those meetings and make them a little bit more efficient to be able to strive more towards that 100% completion rate for career discovery meetings. There are a few also waivers to opt out where if a student is in a specific situation, the requirement doesn't apply to them, or they're waived for completing the requirement. And then there are a couple of opt out options as well if for a student not to complete the meeting. Starting out with, a student doesn't have to complete a career discovery meeting if they're participating in a program approved by the student's school, in which a student works for an employer or labor organization and during school hours. So a work-based learning program, essentially. And like it says on there, we are working to automatically identify these students. I'll give you kind of a little bit more details into that. So we actually receive that information here at the Commission for Higher Education through the inter system, through our CTE team. So the CTE team actually, as a result of House Enrollment Act 1002, actually came in his house now at the Commission for Higher Education, which is wonderful for so many different reasons. But for this reason specifically, because we have that information in-house for those students that are in those eligible work-based learning programs. So I know Inters right now, that team is collecting that data right now from the last school year to then be able to provide it to us, where we can take that information and upload it into the ScholarTrack system, and then have that career discovery meeting requirement marked as waived work-based learning experience for those students. Like I said, we are, Inters is finishing collecting that data right now, the CTE team, and then we're building that feature into ScholarTrack. So if you're kind of familiar with the graduation details reporting function in ScholarTrack, it kind of works like that, except you wouldn't have to do any work on your end if you're a school. So for this specific waiver, you do not have to do anything as a school or the student. We have that information. We're going to do it seamlessly on our end. Nothing you have to do besides, if the student's in there, great. Just go ahead and wait for us to upload it more than anything. So that's being built to ScholarTrack. Like I said, we're hoping by in a couple of months that we are able to kind of have a test upload in there and have it marked for all eligible students on there. So feel free to check in a couple of months. I'm happy to provide any more updates as they come along. specifically for this waiver. For the next waiver, kind of similarly build out process. So for any students who are receiving career coaching services through the career coaching grant, they also don't have to complete a career discovery meeting. That requirement doesn't apply to them. For those of you who are not familiar with the career coaching grant, or just as a quick refresher, the career coaching grant, we went ahead and implemented the career coaching grant as part of the career coaching navigation system. There are 25 organizations statewide that provide career coaching services to students, working directly with schools for that partnership to work with their students. The way it works is once a student receives career coaching services from that career coaching grant organization, that organization collects the information of the student, including the first name, last name, and student testing number. And then we use that information, or going to use that information, sorry, to kind of upload it as well, kind of like the work-based learning waiver, to go ahead and mark that career discovery meeting widget as waived career coaching, essentially. So it could be a similar process in ScholarTrack and for schools as well, where you do not have to do anything as a school. So as a school user, as a counselor, as a CC specialist, that's all going to be handled also on our end as well. That's also going to be built out at the same time as the work-based learning waiver. It's be a similar process. It's just different coding. So in a couple of months, we should hopefully be able to do a test as well, specifically since we are receiving a report from our 25 organizations providing career coaching services in mid-November. So also have a look out for that as well. So those two waivers should be implemented in ScholarTrack, again, with no action needed from schools. Now for the opt-out part. A parent or an emancipated student can opt out of the meeting requirement for any reason. So if they just don't feel like doing it, they say, hey, I'm not going to do it because I already know what I'm going to do. So I don't want to sit in a 30-minute meeting to do this. If an emancipated student wants to do that, great. A parent of a student wants to do that, wonderful. And I'll talk a little bit more about how this is going to be implemented after the next opt-out, which a school can submit a written request to the Commission for Education, so us, to waive the meeting requirement if the school determines that no approved entities are willing to meet with students. So again, if you have no entities that are willing to meet with you, or I would say it makes it impossible to conduct your discovery meetings at your school, you can go ahead and opt and use that opt out. Just write in writing to the Commission for Higher Education saying, hey, we cannot complete the career discovery meeting. No entities can conduct meetings at our school. It's impossible to meet this requirement. We'll go ahead and waive all of the schools, so all the students at that school, of the requirement. Both of these opt-outs also are going to work kind of the same in ScholarTrack. This is going to be the next build after the work-based learning and career coaching waiver. It's a little bit trickier because waiving a whole school or waiving one specifically student is a little bit trickier in ScholarTrack. However, we're fairly confident they could be done fairly well, and specifically for those parents, for those individual students that either are opting out themselves or the parent is opting them out, we will establish a form once we see what ScholarTrack requires of it. So on a basic level, we will probably need, first name, last name, the student testing number, along with probably a reason of why they're opting out. Probably a drop-down menu just to make it a little bit easier for data reporting wise more than anything. But that feature will be built into ScholarTrack once the waiver opt-out, the waiver for work-based learning and career coaching is built into ScholarTrack. I'll be happy to provide you with an update on what that form will look like to make kind of opting out for those individual students a little bit easier on your end. On here as well, like I said, I think a few slides ago, is the 2023-2024 was a pilot year. So those meetings for current seniors, so the class of 2025, will be waived. So you do not have to worry about the meeting for last year for those students. And then lastly, the career discovery meeting does not impact the student's ability to graduate. State code does not dictate their student will not graduate or be ineligible for state financial aid if they do not complete a career discovery meeting, especially, you know, as these first 2 years are rolling out of the career discovery meeting. I'll mention a little bit specifically that it does not impact 21st Century Scholars Award eligibility, because I know with a limited account, or if a student does not have a scholarship account, the career discovery meeting widget appears right below the 12th grade scholarship success program activities. I just want to state that again, that it does not affect the 21st Century Scholars Award eligibility, even though again, the widget is right below those 12th grade SSP activities. All right, so I'm done with my slide deck presentation. I'm now going to move over to the demo to kind of show you a little bit what to do kind of in Scholar Track, kind of what that looks like, how students complete the meeting more than anything. So bear with me while I transition real quick and stop sharing. I have to switch between 8 different windows. I apologize. I am not very good at seamlessly transitioning and making it very smooth like. Let me see here. Which one do I want? All right, I'll start with this one. Okay, so now you should be able to see, so I'm using Sally Scholar, our very great volunteer here at the Commission for Education that lets us just, you know, gives us access to her profile and Scholar Track to really kind of, you know, demonstrate and really play with things on your, so this is a student, what it would look like if a student doesn't have a Scholar Track account, or if they have a limited Scholar Track account, this is what it would look like. So for students, you know, that, you know, just want to go in, they're not a 21st Century Scholar, they see no reason to complete the Scholar Success Program, but just to go in and complete the Career Discovery meeting, this is what it's going to look like. So like I said, the Career Discovery meeting widget, it's going to be right below the grade 12 scholarship program activities. You'll check them out right there. Complete first career discovery meeting, complete second. They just go ahead and click on the title, and then it'll ask them, hey, who did you meet with? What entity did you meet with? So you'll see on here, these are still not in alphabetical order. However, I just tested it last night in staging, and it is now in alphabetical order. So it's moving through the process of being in alphabetical order. So those providers or entities that can conduct meetings to be able to select. I did play around, which, you know, for hopefully by the end of the week, these will be in alphabetical order. For now, what you can do is if you, I don't know, let's say they met with a university. If you start typing university, the first one should show up. And if you keep going it'll just go to the next provider or entity that starts with a U. So that's an easier way to find providers, to just scroll into every single one and kind of having a keen eye for a provider that you're specifically looking for. However, you know, it doesn't, it has to, the entity or provider's title has to start with that letter. So I was looking last night, I was looking for the University of Chicago because their official title is the University of Chicago. And I typed in U, it never came up. But if you type T for you'll see that the Ohio State University obviously comes up because that's their official title, but you'll also see that the University of Chicago also comes up. I think that's what just came up. Yep, I had the sharing button that was blocking it. The University of Chicago also came up. So that's a tricky part right now. However, like I said, I did look at staging yesterday, and this list is in alphabetical order. So that should make it through quality assurance to QA, and then on to being into Scholar Track into production live. Hopefully by the end of this week, our IT contractors move fairly quickly. When was the meeting completed? So it is in a 2x2 format. They go ahead and just go ahead and say when they met. And like I said, the meeting can backtrack. So if a student completed this meeting this summer, or they were in a meeting that met those requirements, you can go ahead and put that they met in July. That's totally fine. For those students that are current seniors and they say, well, I completed a meeting like this last year, they can go ahead and backtrack up until July 1st of 2023, when House Enrollment Act 1002 went into effect. And then lastly, what are your post-secondary plans? This is just for the Commission for Education to collect this information. We're curious, you know, kind of which one of the 3 E's, employment, enlistment, or enrollment, a student is interested in more than anything. And then they just click save and finish, and that's it for completing the meeting. Similar process for a student with a full account. And I'm going to stop sharing again and jump screens again. Where is that one? Oh, there it is. Same process for that one as well. Is if a student has a full account to complete that meeting, it's the same process. They answer the same questions. I wanted to share that. Sorry. Like I said, the Commission for Higher Education, the state government doesn't allow us to use Zooms. Have to use it on Chrome browser, so it's not the smoothest experience. I apologize. Not as seamless as I want it to be. There we go. So again, I'm going to look up Sally Scholar. You as a student. So again, for students with a full account and their dashboard or what it looks like, they have a little bit more access, so they can see, the FAFSA, their submission status, the Scholar Success Program dashboard, and then under pre-admissions, under 21st Century Scholars, you'll see the Career Discovery Meeting widget. Same questions that they're answering, so we'll provide it that they met with, the meeting date, and then their post-secondary plans. So that's enough for the students. I'm going to show you now kind of what it looks like for school users. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and advance. Bonita, I'm not going to lie, I tried to contact you yesterday. If you're on here to if I can impersonate you, to kind of use you as an example. Bonita, if you didn't give me permission, I apologize, and feel free to contact me. You have my phone number, but so Sally Scholar is a student under one of Bonita's schools. So you'll see on here, if you can do this a couple of different ways. So you can log a meeting for a student as well. So if you're a school user in Scholar Track and you say, hey, I know the student met with this specific organization for the Career Discovery meeting. However, they didn't report it, and they're going to be gone for a couple of months now. Can I go ahead and report the meeting? You can. There are a couple of ways to do that. First one is through their student details. So if you go to student details, go down right below the graduation details above the student success program, you can go ahead and click add discovery meeting. So I'm just gonna pick a random one. All right, let's go with Laporte Economic Advancement Partnership. Then today's date and post-secondary plans, employment work, click save. Wonderful. So that's gone ahead and been added. However, you can also edit this as well. And students can also do this as well. So saying, hey, actually, they lied. They actually met yesterday, or they met with someone else. Inspired Success, Incorporated, save. You're also able to do that as well, along with the student. So they go ahead and said, no, I actually got that wrong. It will let them edit that meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that meeting. And then the other way you could do that is in the Discovery Meetings widget. So in the Discovery Meetings widget for school users, so I'm going to go ahead and select Belcher Middle School because, again, no student is completing Career Discovery Meeting in middle school, so I don't have to worry about a student popping up. You'll see on here a list of your students that have completed the meetings, along with post-secondary plans, data meeting the provider, and then any actions you can take. So you can edit from there as well. You can also delete the meeting for any reason you want to do that. But you're able to click add meeting on here as well. So this is a little bit trickier because you do have to select from a drop down of students, and they're in alphabetical order by last name. And then you select those three data that we have to have reported to us to complete the meeting. Again, a little bit trickier just because students, depending on your school, that list can be fairly long. I'm not going to click on it because that will bring up actual students, and I don't want to get hit with a FERPA violation. The last thing I want to show as a school user is the report section. There is a report for the Career Discovery meeting specifically, and it'll pull the report kind of like your Excel student roster. It'll pull it exactly. So if you want to narrow it down to just who completed Career Discovery meeting or just all of your students, you're able to do that. So we'll ask for a cohort year. So you can do current seniors and current juniors. high school. So if you have access to different schools, obviously you can type in a specific high school. You can ignore region. I think we can't take regions out of reports because I guess it acts funky, the reports after that. So we're just going to leave region alone. Kind of like a random beam in your house you don't want to take out because it'll just bring the whole house down, the supporting beam. And then completed meetings, like I said, you could specify if you want meetings to be completed or not, or you could just leave it as is, and it'll download all of your students in those specific cohorts at that school. And then just go ahead and click download. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and then I'm going to show you what that report looks like. And there you go. So this was done when I was testing out the Career Discovery Meeting report earlier this year. You'll see on there that Sally Scholar completed a meeting. You'll see their date of birth, their cohort, what school, the provider specifically. Says provider was John James, when the meeting was, and their post-secondary plan. So basically the information that they're reporting, but most importantly, it puts the list of those students that have completed a career discovery meeting on there as well. Makes it a little bit easier specifically when you're maybe working with an intermediary or someone coming in to work with schools. You know what students don't have to complete those meetings, or you're able to mark them off more than anything. One last thing I do want to say on this, and I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this, is that currently the reporting function for community partners. So if you're working with an intermediary that has access to your school on ScholarTrack, they're not able to see those students that have completed career discovery meetings on a report. That's currently built into ScholarTrack as well. So on the Excel student roster report, which I believe for school years is the second option, that there'll be an added column for those two CDMs with an X marked through them if they have been completed or not. So that also makes it easier for community partners that, maybe have access to ScholarTrack to be able to conduct those meetings, say what students still need to complete those meetings. I'm trying to think of anything else. I think I'm going to stop there. I think that's enough of sharing my screen. And I see that I do have 11 chat messages on there where I'm happy to answer those questions now. Amanda, I don't know if you want me to read them or you want to read them yourself, and I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, sure. Jose, and were you going to share anything? Sorry, if you were, I can give you back screen access.
I should be good. I do want to say I will share some stuff after the meeting. So a couple things I do want to share is one, a link to the provider, not application, I would say the form to be approved as a meeting conducting meeting, career discovery meeting conducting entity. There we go. It's a mouthful.
Okay.
I'll share that link. I'll also share a list of the current providers just because I know it's easier to see that list in person, be able to sort through it. So you can sort through it alphabetically. You can sort it through it based off of your county. All of that information, you can see the contact information for those entities as well. It makes it a little bit easier. We are working with our team internally to make that list have a link that you can download and update the list available on our Learn More site. We're working on that right now. And then I'll also be happy to share my parts of the slides as well with everyone. I'll share it with Amanda and her team, so you can share it with y'all for people that attend this meeting. So you could also plan through as well, along with other guidance that we have also provided to schools and students.
Great, thank you. So yeah, Jose, if you want, you probably can see now the chat now that you're not sharing your screen. Yeah. But that first question towards the top is, does career exploration internship also count?
Does career exploration internship also count? I would say no, unless it's captured by our CTE team, by interns. It probably would not count. I would have to look at it. So another part that we will have to look at once, because I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and take a guess that not every work-based learning experience is going to be captured by our inter system, just because either one, it wouldn't be captured by interns, or two, we don't have the methods to get that information. What we will have to do is probably have another build out into the career discovery meeting widget where students can go ahead and submit the work-based learning experience. It will require, and it's not, I would say, super simple as kind of completing a career discovery meeting, because we're going to require more information, namely to name that organization that they're getting that work-based learning experience or the internship with, and then having a contact as well, so we can contact them and ask them, hey, is this student actually, getting a work-based learning experience here? Are they doing an internship here? What are they doing essentially to make sure that it qualifies more than anything? So I would say, if I could take a guess, I would say it's probably not captured by inter-system. However, we'll have to build out to capture that work-based learning experience along with other ones that would qualify but are not captured by our reporting system essentially right now.
Okay. And then kind of to go along with that a little bit, does this mean that not all work-based learning programs are eligible? They must be identified and then we are notified.
Yeah, Sarah. So, I mean, I wouldn't say that not all work-based learning programs are eligible. I would say that they're not all going to be captured. Our interest system is finalizing the information from the last school year. So we'll go ahead and do a test upload this fall once that process is being built out, and we could see, okay, what are we missing essentially? What big work-based experience are we missing? What hasn't been captured? Also, you as well can look at it and be like, hey, this isn't being captured. And that reporting feature, like I said, can be reported by students or school users as well. It just requires a little bit more information on there as well. So I would say not eligible, just maybe not captured, and we'll probably have to build out another. We will have to build out another feature to have those work-based learning experiences be reported more than anything.
Okay. If a student receives services from the coaching grant in 10th grade, will that waive them for when they are in 11th and 12th grade? Or will they still have to do something in the 11th and 12th grades?
Yeah, great question. Honestly, so it doesn't specify, it just says that they receive career coaching service or a career coaching grant. I think the thinking behind it is that any time that a student at that high school receives career coaching services through the career coaching grant in 10th grade, I think that will count towards being that requirement, because career coaching services are a little bit more they're a little bit more than 30-minute meetings. Your career coaching services are going to go above the 30-minute requirement. So they're going to go longer, more than 30 minutes. So, I would say that they would qualify as meeting that career discovery meeting requirement since they're waived of the requirement. So I would say they don't have to complete the career discovery meeting. It's waived for those students specifically. So they wouldn't have to do it in 11th or 12th grade.
Okay. What about JAG, a student who's in JAG? Does that qualify as a career discovery meeting?
Yeah, Jenny, that's a great question. So a student that is in JAG, JAG is actually an approved intermediary to conduct career discovery meetings. So these meetings meet the requirements already by those students that are in the JAG program, where they can host meetings outside of school hours and school grounds. So kind of by default, that would qualify as a career discovery meeting. They wouldn't meet those requirements.
Right. If no approved entities will meet with your students, can a school counselor conduct those meetings?
Yeah, Crystal, great question. Unfortunately, state code dictates that only those 4 entities can conduct career discovery meetings. But Crystal, in that aspect, I would say that's where, if you have no entities that want to approve can meet with your students, that's where I would use that school waiver and opt out your students. And I think part of it is that, those students, like you said, you probably are going to be conducting something similar already. At that point, you're just not meeting the definition as stated in state code. I would just use that opt out and not even worry about trying to conduct those meetings yourselves, because like I said, it is written in state code that if an approved entity cannot meet with your school, or no approved entities in this case, you can opt out of that requirement. So that way you don't have to worry about striving towards that 100% completion.
What exactly constitutes receiving career coaching services? Are X number of meetings or minutes required?
Yeah, Dennis. So that's a great question, and I can't really answer it. I will try to answer it as best as I can, though. So when we are with the career coaching grant, we're partnering with 25 statewide organizations, and there is a career coaching framework that is part of the career coaching navigation system. The career coaching framework are these activities that are around the areas of exploration, engagement, and experience. So intermediaries or organizations like education centers go ahead and look at the framework and really kind of formulate their career coaching services, what they want to provide to their school. So the reason there is kind of that, I would say, flexibility is because we know every career coaching organization is a little bit different. And also every part of the state is different as well. So we really partnered with these organizations statewide to really provide the services that they're partnering with their schools that they mostly need, or a requirement, or they say that they're being requested of more than anything. So what it looks like, and I'll try to be a little bit more concrete, is these activities are composed of the Scholarship Success Program activities, some of them, also some from Indiana Career Explorer, but also some as well that we know that are pretty standard in career coaching services, things like a career interest assessment, workplace experience, being in an extracurricular. hopefully that makes it a little bit easier. However, I can't say exactly what constitutes career coaching services because every organization is doing it a little bit differently. And that's by design of state code, and also to give flexibility for those organizations and the needs that are being asked of them from the schools.
Okay, and also to go along with the career coaching grant districts, if the grantee organization is not providing student-facing services through the grant, will the students in these districts still be automatically waived in Scholar Track by CHE?
Hold on, I got to read this again. For the career coaching grant districts. Great question. Okay. We are actually in internal discussions over that. So we're trying to see if it would just be, so at minimum, it'd be the students who are receiving career coaching services through the career coaching grant. Or are we seeing that if a school is, receiving career coaching services, that means all their students are waived of that requirement, so they don't have to complete the CDM requirement. So I will be happy to provide an update on that once that is landed. That's going through our policy team right now, and they're discussing, the state code allow for the whole school to be, we waive the requirement, or is it just the specific students for that are receiving those services? So Samantha, I'm happy to provide you an update with that. I know Samantha and I are in contact a lot directly, but I will provide you with an update once it is just being made on that.
Great. When exactly will all of the waivers, work-based learning and career coaching, be put into Scholar Track so we will know for sure who has completed?
Yeah, Jenny, great question. So for the waivers, the work-based learning and the the work-based learning and the career coaching services, that should be in about 2 months. I would say it could be fully implemented. I'll give you kind of some backend information when I went ahead and put that into our IT contract website. I don't know better term for it. If you use Jira or Jira, you'll know what I'm talking about. It gave you an estimated completion date at the end of this month, and then has to go into testing and quality assurance, all that fun stuff. So I would say realistically, probably in like 2 months, it should be implemented with kind of those test uploads on there as well to see, okay, this is who we're seeing. These are the glitches that are working out. These are the work-based learning experiences and the career coaching services waivers we're seeing opt-in as well. So I would say about 2 months, Jenny. And I see your second question, where can we share feedback for the legislative session, for the next legislative session? So that feedback won't be available until the session starts, which is in January. There are a couple of ways to do it. So hardest way, obviously, and I say hardest way because you'd have to travel down, is talking or testifying at during the session at the State House. I know also legislators are having statewide meetings. I would say contact your state legislator, and voice those opinions as well. There also are some forums available online that you can voice your opinion. I know that I have contacted my state legislator before about feedback I had on certain legislation, not anything running to do with the commission, just, mostly, personal citizen stuff. There's also that way you can voice your feedback on any legislation that you have an opinion on or think would be very helpful.
And Jose, if I could add to that,
yeah, go ahead.
The Indiana School Counselor Association does a lot of advocacy too, and meets with legislators during the session. So another thing that you could do is reach out to ISCA and share your feedback for them as well.
All right, Sonia, and I see if a student leaves school in the afternoon for a job not related to the CT program, can the CDM be waived in the situation? It has to be by state code. It has to be a program that's approved by the school during school hours at a school location. So I would say, Sonia, I would say no, unless the school approves that student to leave in the afternoon. So like, let's say they're leaving early to do that workplace experience and is approved by the school, that would not be approved.
Okay, thank you, Jose. Those are,
sorry.
That's okay. These are all of the questions we have so far, but for these next few minutes, if you think of something else, please feel free to add those into the chat. I am, in the meantime, going to drop the evaluation of PGP. If you want a PGP for today's attendance, you can complete that very short evaluation to receive that in your email inbox. And then I'm going to kind of start to close this out. But again, if you have questions still, please feel free to add those to the chat as we end things here. Jose, did you have anything more to add before I do share these next closing slides?
Oh boy. Again, thank you again for coming. I know that career discovery meetings are a lot for you all to complete and implement at the school. So I thank you for your effort and your time in doing that as well. I know that Amanda shared the CDM at che.in.gov email. Please use that if you have any questions or you have any concerns or any feedback. Please feel free. We're always looking to see how we can make career discovery meetings a little bit easier for y'all as counselors and school users and students as well. And then lastly, again, I will share with Amanda to share out with everyone. My slide deck, along with the link for the form for entities to submit to be able to conduct your discovery meetings. I'll share a list of those providers. I think we're up to a little over 400 now approved providers to conduct your discovery meetings, along with other guidance for conducting your discovery meetings, along with some slideshows that show kind of how school users can run that report, look up students in career discovery meetings, and how the students can complete career discovery meetings. I'll share all that with Amanda, share it with everyone. But thank you again for coming. Thank you for your time. I hope the coffee goes great, and I hope I made me helped out in understanding career discovery meetings a little bit better and a little bit easier.
Thanks, Jose. And do you have or maybe somebody on the session today has a good example of a slide deck that's used during career discovery meetings? If anybody would be willing to share that, please feel free to email that to me, and I'm happy to kind of collect those and share those out with other with school counselors. And then last, we'll just close things out here. You can see our next coffee talk is in November. It will be on the 12th, and we will be talking about college application and enrollment for undocumented students. The registration link for that is now live if you want to go ahead and get registered and add it to your calendar. If you have suggestions for future topics after November, so starting in December, we don't yet have anything scheduled. Please feel free to drop your suggestion into the box. You can click on that link there to add a suggestion, and then we'll try and get those topics incorporated into our monthly rotating coffee talk sessions. Thank you again. Here's the PGP and evaluation form, which was added to the chat, so you should have that. And then some other upcoming events. We have a lot of free virtual things happening. We actually have a session here in about 30 minutes starting on building comprehensive counseling teams. So if you haven't already registered for that, but you want to join us, you can do a quick registration there. We are doing a Spotlight on Legal series. We're going to have actually 4 sessions spread out throughout the course of the school year. The first one kicks off October 30th, and we'll be talking about 504 plans and accommodations. And then we have a couple of other sessions happening in November that you can see there and check out. We're doing a winter book study. We've done this for the past few winters, and right now we are collecting feedback on what book the counselor community wants to read. So that will be open through October 25th if you want to vote for your book of choice. And then we have our new counselor cadre for counselors in their first and second year practicing as school counselors, and the counselor leadership cadre. Both kicked off actually September 30th. Both of those sessions were recorded, so we are leaving registration open until the end of this month. So there is still time to join one of those cadres if you wish. And then finally, just some new resources we've recently added to our library. We've had a few blogs written by some different counselors if you want to check those out. And then you can access all of our digital content in the digital content library. So if you click on that link, it will take you to a spreadsheet that has all of our on-demand blogs, podcast episodes, DIY PD guides, everything all in one stop. So that's easy to access. And then finally, my contact information if you need to reach out. And I will send a follow-up email with Jose's information and resources and the slide deck. So thanks for being here. And if there's any other questions, I don't see any other questions in the chat. So we will go ahead and close out this session. And thank you again for being here. And we'll see you all soon. Enjoy your fall breaks. Thanks, Jose.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your Tuesday and a great week and a great fall break if you're not on there yet.